What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We're continuing our series on test-driven development. We're here on the project. Let's get right into it, all right? There's a few things I wanted to clean up from before. One thing I realized is this should be in the given section. This part right here. All right. So there's a few more table view tests I want to set up. So let me set this up before actually. There's one func. We're gonna test if the table view did configure delegate and data source. We can test this with a pretty simple assertion. So we're gonna do when and only then in this time. So when set dot load view if needed. So when that happens, we can assert assert that the set dot table view dot delegate is not nil. And we can do it for the data source as well. And usually you don't want to have more than one assert per test, but in this case it's fine since we're testing something very simple. And we'll run this and see what happens. Boom. Yeah, it was, look, the test ran really quickly. It's just that it had to boot up, so gotta give some time. And that was the only thing I wanted to. We could also one last thing. We could test view controller or did we could test if the title was set. So again, given or when. We can assert ACT asserts equal. So set dot what was it? Title. What did we have for the title? We had Hacker News, I believe. Oh, I don't think we set the title actually. Which if we go to our app, we have a title. So this is perfect. We can, because this is gonna fail. Yep, it fails because there is no title. So we're just gonna go here and insert this title. I'm also going to change the view background color to system.background. All right, let's go back to our tests. Command U and boom, we're business. All right, and that's it for now for our home view controller testing. We're gonna get back to it, but right now I actually wanted to test the networking layer. But doing that it's testing the network layer is pretty complicated, and one way of doing it would be to have a mock. So let's open up Postman. I think I still have the previous. All right. So over to Angolia we go, and for our home screen we're going to be using the top stories. Yeah, the stories on the front page. All right. So as I was saying, in like a testing environment, you might want to like already have the JSON and just create the mocks in here, and you just start testing directly from there. But I'm not going to do it that way because there's something I want to show you, and doing it that way would make it more complicated. But we are going to test like using a mock response and all that. But I wanted to show you how we're setting up our network layer in the app to like better explain. So let me just do that really quickly. So we're gonna call this a network manager. We'll go fairly simple. So class network manager, you guys know the deal, right? And we can create this like we can create like a singleton. Shared equals network manager. Private init. Right, and what are we gonna need here? So we're gonna need a function. We'll call this fetch home feed articles. And we're gonna be using async awaits for our networking. So what is it? Async throws, and we're gonna return an array of article. And if you notice, we didn't configure our article in last video, and that's something that would happen in this step. Like when you have your mock JSON here, you would configure your model, your struct, to align with it so you can decode it. So let's do that really quickly here. So what are we getting? We're getting, this is all we get. We get all this mumbo jumbo, right? And what we're interested in is hits only, to be honest. We're interested in hits. And hits is this is an array, as you see here. We can see it off the top. And it's an array of objects. And what kind of objects? Is going to be an array of article objects. So right off the top, I can tell we're going to need another struct. And both of these are going to have to conform to quotable, actually. Since hits is an array of articles, we can't just use articles alone. So we're gonna create this response here to help us with that. And that's just gonna be, it's called article. No, it's called hits, actually. You have to make sure the spelling matches on them. And this is an array of articles. Right, and now let's look at the article and what do we want. So we want a title, URL. We'll grab the author, and we'll grab the points. And we can grab an object ID. I'm just gonna grab all of that. So what was that? So we had the title, which is a string. The author was a string. Points is an int. And object ID is a string. And I think that's all you wanted, right? Oh, did we get a URL? No. All right, and one thing I want to note here is I'm gonna make these optional because sometimes Hacker News has like ads, and some of the ads don't have like a particular author or points, and that'll make your app crash. Like I was having an issue like a couple weeks ago, and it's because at that moment in time there was an ad on the homepage, and that was messing up my network card because these weren't optional. And since they weren't optional, I wasn't able to make the network call. All right, so now we have our structs. So what do we do? Oh, and in here we need to set our base URL. It's going to be equal to this. Oh, and actually we just need to let here. We don't make it static. Guard let URL equals base equals URL from string. Then we bring in the base URL. Else we need to throw an error, and I don't think we have our error set up, right? So let's create a quick little enum called network error. Conforms to error, and then we'll do invalid URL. All right, and now we have enough to make our data tasks. Or to use URL session. You want to try and await URL session dot. You want to make sure it's the async throws one, and we're using a URL. So this. All right, and then here we're gonna guard let our HTTP response. And, you want to set this equal to 200, else you want to throw invalid server response. All right, and now we can decode our data. Let decoder equal JSON. Decoder.decode response of data. All right. Oh, you gotta try, and let's set this equal to results, and we'll print results. Actually, we'll do results.hits. Oh, I forgot the else here. Alright, and we're supposed to return. We can just return results.hits. And now we have to like test this, right? So I guess we have to go to the home view controller. Oh, we can just test this in this view controller really quickly, just to make sure it's working. Do you want to do try await? Yeah, and this is not really testing, right? But I'm gonna explain in a few why we're doing it this way. All right, and it worked because we have our data here. Boom. So our network manager is working.
All right, so now that we know that the network manager is working, I'm gonna go to the home view controller and I'm gonna implement it here. And we have to create a task here actually, and call because we're gonna have an async function. We're gonna call it fetch data. This is gonna be async, and I'm gonna show you here why I built the network manager first, and why we're gonna do some modifications. Let me just type this out. So here we need a network manager. Oh, network manager shared. So all we gotta do is just I believe try await. Actually, we could do a do catch block here. That way we can catch any errors that this throws. Do catch. Just print error. Right, and then here we just do await. Fetch data. All right. So this is how you would typically implement. And we're getting errors because we configured the article and we haven't updated it in the test. But back to this. So this is how a typical implementation of a network manager you'll see, especially like for on a bunch of like beginner courses, or not even beginner, but like a bunch of courses. Like in my learning process, I've always saw like, you use a singleton and then you can implement it like this in your view controller, and it's fine to be honest, especially for a small project. But what this actually does is it makes it like you can't really test this, right? Like in your home view controller, this is like hard coded in basically, and this is gonna get called every time the view did load. So watch, let me actually show you something. So here, if we go to print, did this happen or execute? And now we actually have to go fix our tests. And let me just make these empty for now, so we don't worry about this for now. I'm gonna fix these in a little bit. I just want this empty for this example. All right. So watch, if we run our tests, you're gonna notice something. Watch. And these are gonna fail because I didn't configure these articles to match up with what it's supposed to, because I was getting the error. And also I deleted the task that I had set up here in the view controller. All right, and if you see this runs, look at this. And what is happening actually is our network call is actually being made while we run our tests. And that's not good. Not even for like, well, first of all, like it's not good for efficiency, because you're having real network calls being made while you're running your tests. And that could slow things down. And in a huge code base, that could cause a lot of issues and just really slow things down a lot. Because if you have like hundreds of tests, thousands of tests, and you're calling and you're testing like the view controller and a lot of them, those network calls are gonna be made and you can't really stop them. There's literally no way. There's nothing we can do because the network manager is like hard coded in here. So how do we solve this? Because right now, like this network manager is hard coded into this view controller, and there's no way to really change it. And it's not even just because the network calls are being made while testing, but you also want to be able to change the network manager. So like if you want to have a mock network manager, like I mentioned before, you would typically create a mock manager first. But in order to do this, the best way for our example is actually to create a protocol. And we'll call this network manager protocol. And this is going to help us create some abstraction in our home view controller. So in our tests and in general, like there isn't this network manager that's hard coded in, because we can't really, I mean, we could test this with some expectations, right? But when you're testing, you don't want real network calls being made. Basically, and it's not even just network calls, you don't want to be testing something that requires outside dependencies, basically. So to do this, we're going to create this network manager protocol. And this protocol, we're just going to copy this function header right here and then put this in here. And then we just make this network manager conform to it. And if you build, you get no errors. These are just the tests. And we're not worried about that for now. Method. So we're going to have to remove this network manager from here. And the best implementation to do this is in the init. to create the network manager here. And the initialization of the view controller. And you're gonna want to make this of type network manager protocol. So anything that conforms to this protocol can be passed as with the initializer or as the initializer. So we need to call init here. Init network manager. And we'll do self.network manager equals network manager. Oh, I forgot the T. Network manager. Network. And I think you need the super init here. And I think we need the require initializer, yeah. This is just for storyboard stuff. Whenever you call init in a view controller, it's gonna make you call this. All right, so now what we can do is we can do network manager. Let's see what we get. So we do network manager, fetch home feed articles. And now we have removed the hard-coded, and this is what they call dependency injection, where you basically remove any concrete implementation and you give the view controller the instance of which network manager we wanna use. Because if we go to our test now, so now if we go here, this is gonna throw us an error, right? We're gonna get a missing parameter for the home view controller. And what we need to do is create a mock network manager. Mock network manager. And this is going to conform to network manager protocol. We should get an error here. Let me just create a new file. Mock network manager. Oh, I need to import testable. Hacker news. Oh, I accidentally controlled R. Alright, so we build this. And it doesn't conform to the protocol. You just do fix. And now we have this function. So now we go back to this view controller and we can pass in the mock network manager. And if we run this test, actually, before we run this test, I can remove this and I'll put this in this network manager. So we know which one's being executed. All right, so I didn't return empty array, and you can get rid of this hacker news. All right. So now if we run these tests, they're still gonna fail because we haven't configured them. Oh. All right. So yeah, as you can see, this test is still failing, right? Because we haven't configured the articles. I'm actually gonna build a helper function for this to help us out. But if you look at this, what's getting printed out, our mock network manager is being called instead of as you saw when we first ran it. Since we had this network manager hard coded in, we had this one, but we changed it to initialize the view controller with which network manager we want. All right, now let me fix these errors real quick. So the helper function, what is this? Create article array of length. And I'm just going to use a simple for loop here. All right, how do I want to do this? So for I in 0 dot length. Wait. Var articles. Let me see. Make this an array of articles. Let's new article singular equal article. Hi, this is nil. We can just pass in nil for all this. This is optional, and then append new article. We'll just call this articles to not confuse anyone. And then we return new articles. So in here we can do create of length 0. Then we can just use this. Create an array of length. I forgot to capitalize the O here. What is this one? Alright. And here we can just V. Control V or Command V. We can just create and we should be passing all our tests here. Boom! We passed all our tests. And we did some refactoring. Pretty good. And I think I'm going to wrap it up here. What I really wanted to show you guys is how we're going to, basically how to set up in order to create a mock network manager. You would typically use a method like this where you have a protocol that the real network manager is going to use. So right here, we created the real one first just so I could show you guys. And I feel like it helps better than if I actually created a mock one and then created a protocol, right? It's like a bunch of, I feel like it'd be a lot more confusing. So basically, we created the network manager protocol in order to create some abstraction. Because here in this view controller, we were calling the network manager, this one right here, our real network manager, and it was hard coded in, and the data call was being made every time we ran our tests, and it's not efficient, and you don't want any what do you call it? Any concrete implementation in your code. You want to keep it flexible, especially for tests. Because as you can see here in the test, now we can inject our own mock network manager instead of using the real one. And in the next video, we're going to be creating some tests. We're going to be testing out our mock network manager. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope the explanation was good. I wanted to do the mock stuff first, but I feel like it wouldn't make sense. I mean, it would be a lot harder to wrap your head around because it is a little complicated. But this protocol stuff is really cool, actually, when you think about it, because it's creating this abstraction in the code that really helps with testing and also with like future changes. Because in the future, if you want to make a change or something, you can just create another class or another network manager that conforms to the protocol, and all you have to do is pass it in. Where if it was hard coded, you'd have to change everything. You'd have to change everything. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed and have a good one. See you next time. In the next one, we're going to be actually testing our mock network manager. Peace.
I'm riding between it all in this perfect play. I'm a piece of the puzzle, I'm a fit where you need me, baby.